what. Hi everybody, thanks for inviting me to your beautiful country. It's been a really wonderful ride so far, a lot of fun as well. I think, a positive spirit and a lot of humor are very important tools in this battle. Yes, I come a long way, 20,000 kilometers from Norway. That's like 30 hours flight trip. Took me like a week to come here. First London, then Dubai, then Hong Kong, and finally New Zealand.
Didn't get the virus?
Yeah, well, probably didn't get the virus. No, I'm still okay. I'm obviously here. I think there are two reasons why I'm here. One is like a little bit egocentric as well, because I think it's extremely important for me as a representative of a lot of people who are suffering in Norway to show the Norwegian government that we have raised attention all the way to New Zealand. Because I know that I do post a lot of things on my Facebook, and that pisses the government, of course, off. But it's extremely important for that government to see that this is a global issue. This is not about Norway, this is not only about New Zealand, this is actually about things that are going on all over the world. And I think I was trapped a little bit what you have been doing for a lot of years as well, when I was trying to, as Steve told you, to tell the Norwegian government that, hey, you are actually violating the human rights. And when you say that to a country like Norway, who thinks of itself as the #1 country in the world when it comes to protect human rights, you will be laughed at, you will be bullied, you will be tried to push up the road, because they don't like human rights defenders. Because they want Norway to be seen as a country that protects the people and the human rights. And when someone challenges that, you will automatically become an enemy of the states. And I graduated from law school in 2000, and I took a specialty in human rights. So it took me like 1 year to specializing in human rights, and all of my friends at law school said that, why are you doing that as waste of time? I mean, we have the best laws in the world, so why bother with some international treaties that are not better than our laws? And I think you're dealing a little bit with the same here. You have your domestic laws, and I think, and I'm pretty sure that the judges think that bringing up these international treaties to the table is a waste of time. So it's very interesting to see that you travel 20,000 kilometers and you actually feel like coming home. Because what you're dealing with exactly the same things that we're doing in Norway. And I've been to so many conventions in Norway where I meet people like you. And unfortunately, a lot of people have been traumatized, which is natural, because you're going through a process that is either kills you or it makes you stronger, as we talked about yesterday. But of course, a lot of people are getting traumatized by these horrific situations that are being put in by the governments. And that's the worst part, that when you have been traumatized, the government will use that against you. Not to return children, because they say that you were now so traumatized that it's impossible to return the child to you. So, in Norway, with about 5.3 million people, approximately a little more than what it is here in New Zealand, and 5 to 6 children are being taken away from their families every day. And this is in a country that is ranked in the UN indexes as the richest country in the world. So you can imagine that instead of helping these families, if they have problems, they take the children away. And that is, of course, to justify when you have a child welfare system that annually puts 7 to 8 billion New Zealand dollars into a system, you need to justify that somehow. And one way to justify it is to take a lot of children. Because that is profitable for lawyers, it's profitable for psychologists, it's definitely profitable for business owners. And so you have a lot of people who want that system to remain or even to grow. So it's like it's an industrial business in a way. Well, not in a way, it is an industrial business. And we have been facing, as an international human rights activist in the International Human Rights Council, we have been facing exactly the same problems that you are doing today. And I think we are a few years maybe ahead of you now, because we realized that the only way for us to make any further progress was to start to communicate within international societies. So I started, as Steve said, I started to speak with some Czech politicians because I knew that in the Czech Republic, because I knew that there was an outrage from the Eastern European countries against Norway, because Eastern European citizens were taken into public care in Norway. And because of some cultural differences, and because these children were not Norwegian, that brought some outrage from these countries. And as Steve told you, I met with the Czech president back in 2015. His name is Miloš Zeman. And he was very upset that Norway had stolen, as he said, two of his children, or two Czech citizens. And he asked the Norwegian Prime Minister to return these children to the Czech Republic. And he was responded by the Prime Minister by, "Dear Mr. President, we can unfortunately not return your children, but we can give you information about the Norwegian child welfare system in English." And that pissed him off so much that he went international in the international press, calling the Norwegian child welfare system for a Nazi system, which is strong words, of course. But with these words, he was able to manage to raise awareness about what's actually going on in Norway. And more people joined in, and more countries joined in. And at the end, the European Court of Human Rights, which is the highest court in Europe when it comes to dealing with these matters, started to think, hey, there might be something wrong going on in Norway. We have to look into this further. And that took me personally about 10 years to persuade the European Court that Norway is not as perfect as you think. And last year we had this major breakthrough with five convictions in the European Court. This one, the most important one, because that's a grand chamber judgment saying that this is as high as you can get in the European Court. And this is the Lubin case, where 13 out of 17 judges voted in our favor, saying that Norway was deliberately violating human rights. And only the most important cases, they reached the Grand Chamber of the European Court. So, when you reach the Grand Chamber of the European Court, when a country has to face accusation in the Grand Chamber of the European Court, that means that there must be something wrong with the system. It's not only about this case, it's about thousands of cases. So what the European Court did after this conviction in September, they gave another 3 convictions against Norway, saying that Norway was still violating the Human Rights Acts. And we have another 29 cases pending before the court, all related to the same issues, child welfare policy. And what is actually the European Court saying to Norway about these cases? Well, they're saying that Norway is taking children without justified reasons, and they're not returning the children when they have to. Because, and this is very important for the people who are struggling here in New Zealand as well, because the European Court is saying, and the UN Committee is saying, that taking a child into public care is a temporary measure that must be discontinued as soon as circumstances permit. So even though when a child is taken into public care, you have to, as soon as possible, return that child to his biological family. And that's one thing that strikes me when I'm here, that your legal system is based upon exactly the same principles as what we are facing back home, that once the child has been taken into public care, it's very difficult to get it back. So the threshold for taking a child is low, whereas the threshold for returning the child is high. That's what the court is saying as well. And when a country like Norway, which is similar to New Zealand, has been convicted 5 times in 1 year in the European Court, that really says that there is something severely wrong with the judicial elite. And that's exactly what we're up to. This is not only about child welfare cases, this is about a system that wants to control the people. And your fate or your destiny is more or less like controlled by judicial elites. And the Norwegian people are in the same way controlled by the Norwegian elites. And I always ask myself the question, why should people be less worth than this judicial elite? Why should they run our lives? And why should they never be held accountable for the crimes against humanity? And the interesting part is that because we are so, in a way, divided, I mean, we are fighting, this is an extremely tough fight. We're talking about in the car up here, right? This is really like David versus Goliath, right? I mean, we're just some... Goliath, yeah. So we're just some people trying to get justice. And in Norway, trying to get justice is very controversial because the people there are so conformed, they're so loyal to the government. Because they're, you know, we like New Zealand, we're quite well-off countries with, and people, you know, they have the paychecks, they have the jobs, they have their shopping malls on Saturdays, so why should they get involved with other people when they're not convicted or they're affected? I have some very good friends in Norway who are in their 40s, 50s, and we meet once per month maybe to play poker and have some social times, and of course these guys, they say to me, why should I get involved in your fights when I don't have a fight myself? And I think that says a lot. I mean, why? I mean, why should they risk their life or their future for something they don't need to do? So when people, and in Norway, I don't know how that is in New Zealand, but a lot of people who are involved in the conflict with the CPS, the child welfare system, or the child protective service system, they're afraid that if they stand up, if they come forward with their cases, they will be retaliated by the government. And we have seen many examples on that. I was in Dubai with a 75-year-old grandmother who lost her only grandchild. She didn't do anything wrong, but she has not seen her only grandchild since it was born in 2015, in November 2015. And of course, she's really upset about this, you know, being denied the right to see her only grandchild since it was born. So she posted a lot of things about these social workers on Facebook in order to try to achieve justice. And the Norwegian government responded by putting her in prison for 20 days and giving her a fine for 2,000 New Zealand dollars because she was trying to scream out about what she felt on Facebook, on social media. So that is the signal the Norwegian government gives to its own people. Of course, people are afraid to come out, which I truly I understand. But at the same time, I think that one of the most important things we can do in this life is to fight for justice. And I have a very good Czech friend who is a member of the European Parliament, who is like sort of like a hero in Norway because he really hates the Norwegian regime. And he is one of the most powerful politicians in Europe. He's young as well. And he said some very wise words when he was making a speech outside the Norwegian Parliament, saying that if you sleep in democracy, you will wake up in a dictatorship. And I think these words are really good because they tell that something you should really reflect upon. Because if we are indifferent to injustice, what will happen to our nation? It will continue to grow. So, and I've been inspired by this young Czech guy who has really brought up a fight against the Norwegian government. And I've been really inspired by the people in Norway who dare to come forward like you are doing. I think that maybe you have I think the people in Norway probably, a lot of them are more oppressed than you are, I don't know, but it's a sense I have that you might be more tougher in a way, I don't know. But people in Norway can definitely learn from you as well. So, and
it's lawful to protest outside judges' houses.
It's not lawful to protest outside judges' houses in Norway. You will be put in jail right away. So that's how it is. But anyhow, I think that we have made some tremendous changes as a nation, thousands of people have contributed to these convictions. I mean, the people who are able to stand up against injustice. And of course, it has been really inspiring for us to see that we have been actually being right. We've been right all the time, that Norway has deliberately been violating the human rights. And that has been confirmed by the highest court in the world, the Grand Chamber of the European Court. So when the Grand Chamber of the European Court is saying pretty much what we are saying here, that should encourage us to be even more bold, to stand up for what we believe in. And traveling here to New Zealand to meet all you wonderful people is a great way to give a clear example to Norway as well as to the international community that this is a global movement. This is not about this. We have to fight this. We have to combat this together. So I hope we have been talking a lot about what you actually can do in order to make further progress in your fights. I will definitely encourage you, as I've done several times already, to bring even more international awareness by bringing class actions to the UN Court, by making the ICC, that means the International Criminal Court in Hague, aware of crimes against him, or at least potential crimes against humanity. As we spoke about yesterday, instead of defending yourself in the system when violations have taken place in your domestic legal system, you should start by attacking. That's what the Norwegian people are doing now. Instead of being sued by the child welfare system, they start to sue them instead, meaning that they are attacking instead of defending. Because the people now, after these judgments, have started to raise complaints within their domestic system, saying that the child welfare system or the legal system has violated our fundamental human rights. And we have proved. We have these Grand Chamber judgments from the European Court saying that. Because keep in mind that the Grand Chamber, when the Grand Chamber puts on a case, which is very rare, it has to be something about the system, meaning that even though this is one conviction, it applies to thousands of other cases which has similar approaches to it.
Just to help the public, I think you need to talk about, we've got the child protection system, and people make a decision of protecting the state, which is the judiciary.
Yeah, and that's right. Because we are all, the people in Norway too, are also attacking the child welfare system of the social workers. But keep in mind that when the European Court is making their decisions, they're making a decision over the judiciary. So they're not, in this judgment, for instance, they're not attacking or they're not blaming the child welfare system. They're attacking or they're blaming the judiciary. So I think that more and more people have to realize that we have to stand up for a fight against our own judicial elites. Because you have to realize that the judicial elite is not there for you. There is no equality before the law. So you have to find a way. I don't have the answer how to do that, but you have to find a way to make sure that this judicial elite will not be able to ruin your life any longer. So how you will do that is up to you, but I think that at least we have given you some ideas about how to do this, and that is by approaching the international society and by bringing awareness about what's going on in our own country and putting more pressure upon the government that way, because that's the worst thing that they hate it. Because I'm pretty sure that the New Zealand government as well want to portray itself to the rest of the world as one of the best countries in the world to live in, right? Exactly like Norway. And I see the UN indexes, New Zealand and Norway is always among the top 10. So I will encourage you as much as I can to find new ways to combat this. And I was honored to meet with Mike here, who will make a speech later. Those guys are, in my opinion, of course, heroes who bring the international attention with regard to crimes within your own country. You succeeded. I mean, you succeeded. And New Zealand was found guilty in torture, which is, I mean, that's as bad as it can get. And Norway was found guilty still, which is also as bad as it can get. So it really proves that we need more people who come forward I think that the Families for Justice should be like to transfer itself into something with a. Okay, I'll try. I'm almost done. I think that Families for Justice should be like a group that intervene in cases where individuals have their complaints in the domestic courts. And I think that you should consider to raise these cases before the international tribunals. And I know that when I was up speaking with the Marius some days ago, they should definitely alert the ICC about potential crimes against humanity. And now in Norway, the indigenous groups in Norway are doing that right now. So it's kind of like a coincidence that happens at the same time. And 2nd of March this year, the Torture and Crimes Against Humanity group from the UN will be visiting Oslo. I will participate in that meeting and will definitely bring that attention to what I've been experiencing here as well. So I think that we can do a lot. I'm very honored, I'm very happy to be here. And I think in order of what we talked about yesterday as well, just to complete it, I think it's extremely important to put on a happy face when you're doing this. The government hates it. I always smile on the picture on Facebook, and that's a reason for it, because that really pisses the government off. Because that's a proof of strength instead of weakness. And you have to ally yourself with a lot of good people. Personally, I'm allergic to negativity especially in my private life. So and a lot of humor to it. I mean, we cannot reverse the past anyway. We can only move forward. So that's how I've been coping with this for 20 years. I've been fighting the Norwegian government for 20 years, and now now I think it's one of the best things in life to do. It's not about being like a rebellion, but it's about trying to fight for what's actually your fundamental rights. That shouldn't be controversial at all. So, but that's a good thing about it, to find the right people, to meet the ones who share the same passion for justice as you, and keep on moving forward. And I think that we all we can do tremendous a lot. Even a single person can make big differences, as big as they do. And we've been having so much fun. We've been laughing so much driving around. But it all comes down to that you need that part in order to make energy. My father is he's a doctor. He just retired. He said that the best hospital in the world is your own brain. So the more positive you are, the better you will be able to cope with your problems as well. So I said to that guy who had been, while we were driving yesterday, that guy who was so depressed from, I think his children was taken, that he had been in bed for 6 weeks. I said, get up from bed. You have to start exercising. You have to, otherwise, staying in bed is not going to make you any happier. It's going to make it much worse. So that's something to think about, even though it might sound superficial for a lot of people who are coping with it. You have to always think positively about things. Anyhow, I'm super happy for being here. I'm very proud about what you are doing. I really hope that this will be a start of something bigger. I know that we have a lot of people like you in so many other countries as well. I got a message from human rights activists in Lithuania, a small country in Europe, saying, hey, we have to start to have these shorts in Lithuania as well. And the guy from Germany, when we were in Hobbiton, saying that he saw the flag up on church and he said that, oh, I know that country, Norway, they have this Barnevernet, which is your Onehunga to Reikeras. I think it's difficult to pronounce. So you see, this is something we can spread all over. So thank you very much, and keep on with the fight, and we will definitely, I will definitely be inspired when I go back, and I know a lot of people in Norway will be inspired too, so this is like a win-win situation. Super.